Did your parents have bad disc in their spine? Are you worried that you're the next in line to inherit those problems? If so, this video is going to be great for you. Hey, I'm Dr. Puntney with Wellington Family Chiropractic, and today I want to talk about degenerative disc disease and whether or not it's genetic. So this is a common theme that comes up in my office. I'll have a patient come in, they're suffering from some sort of discogenic pain, or in other words, pain caused by a disc in their spine. And sometimes throughout the history, what they will say is, well, my parents have bad disc. Maybe it's my mom. She's got degenerative disc disease. My dad has it. All my uncles have it. So I know I'm going to get it too. And so one thing I always try to talk to them about is, yes, there is a bit of a genetic factor when it comes to the health of the disc, but it's not the only factor. A lot of times we just blame our genetics for our discs and things like that throughout the body. But specifically today, we're talking about the disc. Well, my parents had it, so I'm going to have it. Well, there's a lot of factors they've shown through research to affect the disc. And sure, a genetic factor for some is that they're a little bit more predisposed to having disc problems, but it's not the only factor, and it's not really the most important factor. They've shown there's a lot of factors. Environmental factors is what they would call them, some of them being your work environment. So if you're somebody that has to lift heavy equipment, you're constantly putting your spine under tension, and you're doing that poorly with bad mechanics, that can definitely wear out your disc and play into, if you're genetically predisposed, speed up that process of wearing down the disc. But if you sit too long without getting up at work, if you're somebody that sits at a desk and you never get up and move around and stretch, that also can do it. If you're overweight and you have an elevated BMI, that can put more stress on the disc and the spine. That can speed up the degeneration of a disc. If you're a smoker, that affects the disc and the health of the disc. They've shown, some studies show that if you're deficient in vitamin D, that can affect the health of the disc long term. So these are just some brief examples, but there are a lot of factors throughout the day and throughout our lives that affect our disc. It's not one. So mom having it doesn't mean you have to have it. In fact, they've shown that that's one factor that you can't control, but you can control all the other things that we talked about. So what can you do to keep your disc healthy? Well, you can do the opposite of what I just talked about. If you're a smoker, try to quit smoking. Smoke less often until you quit. If you're somebody that's overweight, it happens. But if you can decrease your body mass index, you are less likely to have disc injuries or disc issues than those with an elevated BMI. Get up and move around if you have a desk job. Research has shown those that sit the longest without getting up and stretching and move around put more strain on their disc, and they have more problems. If you're at a job where you're on your feet all day moving around, but you're constantly having to lift heavy loads and put your spine under a lot of tension and strain, make sure that you're taking time to learn the proper mechanics so that you're not wearing out those structures prematurely. Vitamin D is an easy one to supplement. It's cheap. Typically what I have patients do is about 30 IUs per pound of body weight. They come in small capsules, usually 2,500 IUs. So it doesn't take many of those. Like I said, you don't have to break the bank. Vitamin D is very accessible, and a lot of us are deficient in it just because we're not out in the sun. We wear sunscreen, so we don't necessarily have as much of that in our body as we used to. Regular exercise, general exercise, walking. If you're not a gym member, just staying active throughout the day. Have an exercise routine. They've shown people that are regular exercisers tend to have less disc problems long term than those that don't. So again, having parents or family members that have disc disease might genetically set you up or predispose you to having disc disease, but it's one factor of a bunch of factors, and those are the ones that we can control. And if we control all these, that can outweigh just that one factor of our parents having some disc disease. So remember, if your parents have bad disc, it doesn't mean that you have to. You just need to control what you can control, and a lot of times you can have healthy disc as you age. So I hope this helps, gives you some encouragement if you're one of those people worried about that, and I'll talk to you soon.